internet on fire once again, this time spotted front and center at Chris Brown's Breezy Bowl concert in LA, and the way she showed up had everybody buzzing. She wasn't blending into the crowd, she was radiating that loud "she ready" energy, like the whole night was her stage. But the whispers and shady comments started creeping in fast. People weren't just talking about her wild dance moves, they were dissecting what she posted right after, and that's when it got messy. See, Tiffany didn't just go out and have fun, she clapped back with her own twist, tying it into this 2-year cycle she's been hinting at for months. She even dropped that juicy gem about how famous men chase her harder when she's celibate. That wasn't just light gossip. That was a full-blown spill, and it made people question if this was really about Chris Brown, or if she's still carrying feelings tied to her past. Picture the scene, Chris Brown on stage, hyping the crowd, yelling, "If you're married, make some noise." And right there on the big screen was Tiffany, tongue out, dancing hard, giving pure main character energy. She reposted the clip like she knew she was the center of attention. But the second that footage hit social media, the comment section exploded. People dragging her with thirsty for Chris Brown comments, roasting her harder than ever. Hours later, the internet did what it always does, pulled receipts, old clips, old quotes, and right back came her history with Common, piecing together a storyline nobody asked for, but everybody wanted to debate. And Tiffany didn't stay quiet. She fired off this sly little post, smiling like it was support, but people swore it was thinly veiled shade. The timing, the specific comments she responded to, and the way she's been weaving Common's name into conversations lately.
I'm enjoying it. I'm not gonna put nothing extra on it. If he want to marry me, he can get me an apartment building.
Oh, okay. That would be, you don't want a ring, you want an apartment complex.
I'd give me a duplex, an eightplex or something. You know, the homegirls be like, where your ring? I thought you was engaged. Where your ring? Where your carrots? Carrots. Girl, please, I got units. Knock it off.
All of it stacked into one explosive mess of a timeline. And to make it even juicier, let's not forget Tiffany wasn't just there randomly. She pulled up to Chris Brown's second LA show on September 13th, cameras catching her on the big screen dancing wild to bees and marijuana, making sure the whole stadium knew she was in the building. And she didn't let the viral moment breathe either. Tiffany doubled down. She reposted the footage herself and wrote that she'll always buy a front row seat for Breezy. She even reminded everyone about that wild dance battle with Chris Brown 20 years ago, saying she told him back then that if God allowed it, she'd be front row for life. She swore it was straight facts, no cap, turning a concert moment into a declaration that she's here to stay in this storyline. But here's the bigger picture. Breezy Bowl wasn't just any show. This was the US leg of his blockbuster tour that started in Europe back in June. By late July, he was tearing up North America with Bryson Tiller and Summer Walker tagging along, and by the time it hit LA, the energy was unhinged. 2 sold-out nights at SoFi, fans losing their minds, cameras catching everything, and yes, people are still replaying that infamous clip of Kayla Nicole getting an NSFW lap dance from Chris on stage, the one that broke the internet for days. But even with that madness, fans were left asking, where does Common fit into Tiffany's sudden wave of attention? Because while Common wasn't anywhere near SoFi, his shadow was in the mix thanks to his own words and Tiffany's reactions.
We both have professions. Well, I think once Tiffany and I got back on the move, it really didn't allow for us to spend as much time and put as much energy into our relationship. I don't think the love really dispersed. I just think it was just like we weren't feeding the relationship. And as you said, neither one of us is going to stop. Like, Back
in July 2024, Common sat down with The Breakfast Club and made it clear he was in a healthy, beautiful relationship with Jennifer Hudson. And he didn't just say it casually, he bragged about it, even hinting that marriage was on the horizon. Those weren't rumors, those were his exact words. And the timing couldn't be more chaotic now that Tiffany's dancing and posting have dragged their old chapter right back into the spotlight. The Shade Room didn't waste a second before blasting out those pull quotes. I mean, that's where Tiffany Haddish tossed gasoline on the fire. She jumped right into the comments with one single word, exactly. Just 6 letters, but it set the internet off. Was she showing support or throwing a sly, jealous wink at her ex? Fans were split, but plenty of people read it as straight shade. Atlanta Black Star caught the storm brewing instantly, pointing out how the comments section was dragging Tiffany, calling her weird and telling her to move on from Common after all these years. And once her Breezy Bowl clip blew up, that same old narrative came rushing back, reminding everyone that the internet's memory never fades. But Tiffany hasn't just been dropping cryptic words online. She's been speaking Common's name loud and clear in interviews and even at her book events for I Cursed You with Joy. She admitted their romance was fun, but only because it was during lockdown, and if the world had been open, she might not have been tied down at all.
Both care about our crafts and what we do, and we care about love too and partnership. But I think, you know, the energy that has been put into our careers and continuing to want to do the things that we do for ourselves and for the people is like, it was hard for me to balance all of that and keep the relationship.
That confession made fans whisper she's not over him. And she only cranked up the speculation when she revealed the only celeb who ever truly chased her took 2 whole years before she gave in at the start of 2020, the exact same timeline that lines up with her and Common reconnecting in 2019. Coincidence? Fans don't think so. And Tiffany wasn't finished. She started unpacking what she called Common's cycle. According to her, it's the same routine every time: 2 years single, 2 years in a relationship, and then back out again. She swore she wasn't bitter, but let's be real. The way she described it sounded like she was clocking his every move for the world to hear. This wasn't just a random hot take either. Tiffany said it in interviews this spring, straight out of her own mouth. It's every 2 years, that's his schedule, Tiffany claimed before doubling down with, "I'm not mad at that." But come on, saying she's not mad while dragging his pattern in public? That's practically a soft expose, and she added another spicy detail too. While promoting her book, she revealed she's been celibate. She claimed that when she isn't giving it up, men chase her harder, book trips, shower her with love. Basically, they act obsessed. Fans immediately connected those dots back to Common and her other exes, accusing Tiffany of hinting that her distance only made these men spin the block harder. So here's the messy question. Is Tiffany just being open about her truth? Or is jealousy baked into her timing? Because the second she popped up front row at Chris Brown's concert, fans were projecting all of this back onto Common, like she was trying to remind the world she's still part of his story. Do you think Common is even pressed about Tiffany at this point? Would he bother shading her at all? He hasn't said a single word about her, but the way Tiffany keeps pointing out his cycles and the way she reacts whenever his new relationships make headlines has people convinced she's the one keeping this drama alive. And let's not forget, Tiffany wasn't the only headline from Chris Brown's LA stop. Kayla Nicole's onstage lap dance during Take You Down went viral like wildfire, with TMZ, Page 6, and E! News blasting the footage everywhere. Social feeds were flooded with people calling it Thirst Fest 101. So when Tiffany's Jumbotron moment hit in that same viral storm, her reposts looked extra thirsty to a whole lot of people online. Fair or not, the timing made Tiffany's energy look wild. Add in Chris Brown's choice to belt out Take You Down while Kayla Nicole straddled the stage, and suddenly the whole concert turned into a thirst trap circus. At that point, any woman caught on camera, or even just having fun, risked being labeled as doing the most. And Tiffany Haddish, she was front row for the chaos, and the internet wasn't about to let her off easy. So when Tiffany Haddish went viral for that wild dance moment at Breezy's concert, the internet didn't just laugh and move on. They connected the dots like detectives. People stitched it right back to her old exactly, hopefully they get married comment about Common and Jennifer Hudson, twisting the narrative into Tiffany being thirsty for Chris Brown while still throwing shade at her ex. That's textbook internet projection. But that's exactly how viral stories are built, and Tiffany knows the rules of the game better than anyone. Because let's be real, like, she hasn't been dodging the spotlight, she's been leaning into it. For months, she's been openly revisiting her romance with Common, all while fighting through older controversies that never seem to fade. One of the biggest? Back in 2022, Tiffany confessed she deeply regretted appearing in that sketch with Aries Spears, the one that exploded into a civil lawsuit and had headlines plastered everywhere. The backlash was brutal, and Tiffany had to stand in front of the world and admit the skit was not funny at all. That apology still follows her every time she trends. And that's the kicker, because the internet never forgets. Each time Tiffany pops up in the spotlight, people drag that controversy back into the conversation like clockwork. It creates a non-stop loop of criticism, negativity, and she's doing too much slander. So even when she's just vibing at a concert, the weight of every headline from her past comes crashing back into her mentions. That's why the Breezy Bowl backlash hit her harder than most. Tiffany isn't just battling one viral clip, she's carrying the baggage of years worth of receipts people refuse to bury. And Tiffany has lived through some of the ugliest public storms. That lawsuit mess with Aries Spears, the messy split from Common, and constant whispers about her Hollywood career being up and down. All of it gets recycled into the bigger narrative. Breezy Bowl wasn't just a concert for Tiffany, it turned into a case study of how old drama never really dies online. It just waits in the shadows, ready to pop back up when the timing is right. Think about it. Chris Brown's SoFi show was supposed to be about his music, his collabs, his stage antics, and his sold-out tour. But the second Tiffany's face hit that Jumbotron, everything flipped. Suddenly, the story wasn't about Breezy at all. It was about Tiffany's energy, Tiffany's celibacy streak, Tiffany's past interviews, Tiffany's breakup timeline with Common. Fans weren't just watching a celebrity dance. They were pulling out old receipts like prosecutors, lining up her entire romantic history as if she was on trial. That's the level of pressure Tiffany faces. She can't just be a guest in the crowd, she instantly becomes the headline. And don't forget, this isn't the first time Tiffany's presence at an event turned chaotic. Remember when she made headlines for allegedly crashing Beyonce and Jay-Z's after party? Social media spun that into weeks of memes about Tiffany being too extra in public spaces. That reputation has stuck, and now every time she pops out, people automatically throw her into that same category. The celeb who always does a little too much. But here's the side people skip. Tiffany has been brutally real about why she acts the way she does. She said it again and again. She grew up with struggle, bouncing around as a foster kid, learning to survive by being loud, funny, and unforgettable. That's how she got noticed, how she built a career, and how she turned survival into stardom. But the internet rarely gives her grace for that. Instead, it twists her survival traits into desperation, painting her as thirsty every time she dares to take up space. Breezy Bowl was just the latest reminder of how quick that flip can happen, because the second the clip spread, the memes weren't just about Tiffany dancing, they were cutting deep. Tiffany thirsting over Chris Brown, Tiffany shading Common, Tiffany not over her ex, Tiffany trying too hard. Meanwhile, Tiffany herself posted proof that her front row seat was no accident. She's been a Chris Brown fan for decades, and she swore she promised him years ago after their old dance battle that she'd be front row for life. To her, it was loyalty. But to the internet, loyalty didn't trend, shade did. And once negativity grabs the mic, it always drowns out the receipts. And here's the deeper layer. Tiffany's career has been stuck in this tug of war between her peak and the perception of a fall off. At her height, she was Hollywood's breakout queen, winning awards, starring in blockbusters, and stealing every red carpet moment. But over the past few years, the roller coaster has dipped, and the internet pounces on dips like vultures. Every breakup, every controversy, every viral clip becomes proof that Tiffany is doing the most to stay relevant. That's the shadow hanging over her. I mean, that's why her Breezy Bowl moment didn't just blow up, it exploded into another chapter of Tiffany versus the internet. Let's not forget, Tiffany Haddish herself admitted during her I Cursed You with Joy press run that she struggles with how people see her love life. She straight up said her time with Common was fun, but also just a lockdown romance, adding that if the world had been open, she probably would have been outside in the streets. That kind of raw confession only fuels gossip, because fans don't just take her words at face value, they twist them into hidden shade. Suddenly, every move she makes feels like a secret response to Common, whether she meant it that way or not. And that's exactly why the celibacy bombshell hit like dynamite. When Tiffany told audiences she'd been celibate, and that men chase harder when she creates distance, the internet instantly connected it back to Common, back to her past, back to every famous man she's ever been linked to. So when she showed up at Breezy's concert, tongue out, body rolling, and then posted her promise about being front row for life, people painted it as a full circle moment dripping with thirst, jealousy, and shade. But here's where it really spirals. Tiffany's critics never separate her current actions from her past controversies. The Aries Spears lawsuit is the clearest example. Tiffany apologized, admitted she regretted ever doing the sketch, and the case was resolved. But every time she trends, people drag it back up. So the Breezy Bowl clip didn't just inspire memes about Chris Brown or jokes about Common, it reopened the entire vault of Tiffany's history. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't just she's dancing too hard, it was look at her judgment, look at her past, she stays messy. And Tiffany knows this game. She said over and over that she regrets giving people so much access to her personal life because once the internet has ammo, it never lets go. But at the same time, Tiffany refuses to shrink herself. She's still loud, still bold, still unapologetic, and that's why she's so polarizing. People either love her raw energy or drag her for it, but no one ever ignores her. Sure, the Breezy Bowl clip will fade like every viral moment eventually does, but the pattern it exposed won't go anywhere. Tiffany Haddish can't exist in the spotlight without the internet spinning a bigger narrative around her. Whether it's her celibacy comments, her honesty about Common, her apology for past mistakes, or just her wild stage side energy, everything gets folded into one larger story painting her as too much. Tiffany knows it and she plays into it anyway, because silence has never been part of her brand. At the end of the day, Tiffany is a survivor who turned pain into comedy, but she's also a celebrity living under the shadow of the internet's long memory. Breezy Bowl wasn't just another concert for her. It became another messy chapter in the saga of how she's perceived, how her past bleeds into her present, and how every viral moment either lifts her up or drags her down. That's the trade-off of being Tiffany Haddish. She's not just remembered for her jokes, but for every ounce of chaos attached to her name. So let's line this up clearly. The audience was already primed to side-eye her, and Tiffany leaned right into Breezy's night. Which brings us to the real question. Who benefits when the internet calls her thirsty? That's where Common's name slides right back into the conversation. Fact number 1, Common himself went on The Breakfast Club and bragged about his healthy and beautiful relationship with Jennifer Hudson, even hinting marriage was on the horizon. That wasn't hearsay. Those were his exact words on record. Tiffany couldn't resist chiming in, dropping her infamous exactly. Hope they actually get married. Comment. Public, direct, and guaranteed to stir trouble. Fact number 2, Tiffany spelled out what she saw as Common's dating routine, a clean 2-year cycle of relationships. She even admitted her own time with him only happened because of lockdown. Again public, again on the record. Fact number 3, Tiffany turned up at Chris Brown's concert like it was her personal stage, Jumbotron catching every move, tongue out, body rolling, having the time of her life in the front row. Meanwhile, the internet was already roasting anyone who looked too thirsty for Breezy, especially after Kayla Nicole's lap dance went nuclear. Put all those receipts together and suddenly Tiffany wasn't just another fan. She was crowned the main character of Thirstville, whether she wanted that crown or not. Here's where the whispers got loud. Fans started reading Common's silence as straight up shade. He never mentioned Tiffany once, but when you line up his glowing words about J-Hud next to Tiffany's lockdown-only fun confession, the contrast hits hard. Healthy, beautiful, marriage-ready versus fun until outside opened up. That's not a direct diss, but in the court of public opinion, silence cuts deeper than words. And honestly, Common doesn't need to clap back at Tiffany at all. The sharpest shade is letting fans do the math, hearing him gush about Jennifer Hudson, while Tiffany points at his so-called 2-year cycle and wilds out at Breezy's concert. One look at how he talks about his current queen versus how he talked about Tiffany, and the storyline writes itself. But Tiffany didn't keep things subtle. She leaned right in. She made it clear she's not pining, flipping the script by bragging that men chase her. On her I Cursed You With Joy tour, she said 6 months of celibacy and sobriety changed everything. Men booked trips, showered her with love, and chased her harder when she created that distance. In Tiffany's words, she wasn't begging anyone. She was the prize. And here's the gag. Tiffany might be shouting that she's the prize, but Jennifer Hudson doesn't even have to open her mouth. That's the ultimate flex. Tiffany is front row on the Jumbotron, clapping back with captions, dropping cryptic comments, spilling tea in interviews, and while J-Hud is cool, private, unbothered, that contrast makes Tiffany's moves look louder, thirstier, even if she didn't mean it that way. Because let's be real, Jennifer doesn't need to post about exes, talk about cycles, or defend herself online. She lets Common do the talking, and every time he calls their love healthy and beautiful, fans twist it into shade at Tiffany. He never has to mention her name. The comparisons write themselves, and the internet eats it up like candy. That's the trap Tiffany keeps falling into. She's the one out here tongue out, body rolling, while Jennifer is nowhere to be seen, collected, confident, and untouched by the drama. Tiffany is explaining lockdown love and celibacy streaks, while J-Hud is quietly stacking her music, her brand, her empire. To fans, that silence feels powerful. To critics, Tiffany's honesty feels messy. And just like that, perception becomes its own weapon. Common doesn't need to clap back at Tiffany. His silence stings enough. The more he praises J-Hud, the harsher the contrast becomes. Healthy, beautiful, marriage-ready versus lockdown-only fun. One woman looks like wife material, the other looks like the ex who can't stop talking. Fair or not, that's how the court of public opinion judges it. And Tiffany ends up looking like she's still chasing while J-Hud's already won the prize. But Tiffany isn't built for quiet. Her whole career has been about being bold, raw, and unfiltered. That same energy made her a breakout star, but it's also why she's such an easy target for shade. And now every move she makes gets compared against J-Hud's calm aura. A comparison Tiffany can't win no matter how much she tries to flip the script. "I've never been in a relationship like this." That's Tiffany's own line, and fans replay it as proof she's the one famous men chase. To her, it kills any idea that she's thirsting for Chris Brown or for anyone else. But when you layer that against the SoFi footage, front row dancing like no one's watching, reposting like thousands of other fans, the internet still twisted it. No DM leaks, no behind-the-scenes flirt, just a concert vibe. Yet the thirst label stuck anyway, showing more about how people police women's joy than about Tiffany herself, and she knows it. But the reason Tiffany, Common, J Hud always goes viral is simple. The triangle has history, and Tiffany herself mapped it out. She's joked before that she'd stop messing with celebs, only to laugh and admit, "Okay, I'm lying." But her real point has stayed steady. Whatever she and Common had, it wasn't built to last. And if you check his track record, she's not wrong. Common has a history of long relationships with high-profile women. Then he moves on. Tiffany pointing out the 2-year cycle was her way of exposing the pattern without ever dragging his name directly. Now throw Breezy Bowl madness into the mix. Media outlets already had Chris Brown's LA stop on blast thanks to Kayla Nicole's viral lap dance moment, and then Tiffany's Jumbotron cameo hit in the exact same storm. If you're a celebrity in that crowd, any move, a dance, a tongue flick, a repost, gets exaggerated. Meanwhile, Common didn't have to tweet a single word. His healthy, beautiful, marriage-ready speech about J Hud stood tall against Tiffany, calling their past lockdown fun. That contrast alone looked shady, even if he never meant it to. And here's the wild part. While Tiffany was trending, Chris Brown's ex Karaweche Tran also got dragged into the spotlight. Paparazzi caught her reacting to all the Kayla Nicole lap dance noise, and even though it had nothing to do with Tiffany, it showed how charged this whole Breezy moment really was. Everyone connected to him got pulled into the fire, and Tiffany ended up in the center of the storm. Both SoFi nights were sold out, and every celeb in the building was guaranteed to land on fan cams and gossip blogs. Tiffany just happened to add fuel with her perfect caption about supporting Breezy for 20 years. Once the body rolls and tongue flicks hit the Jumbotron, the blogs had their hook. From there, it was inevitable. Her old quotes about Common got dragged back, mashed together with Breezy clips, and boom, a brand new round of thirst headlines in 2025. That's how viral fame works. One fresh clip revives old controversies, and Tiffany Haddish became the headline all over again. Here's the plain truth. Tiffany Haddish danced her heart out at SoFi, reposted the Jumbotron clip, and reminded everyone she's been a forever front row Breezy fan. Those were her receipts, her captions, her reality. That's not a thirst trap, that's just Tiffany turning up the way she always does. The shade people keep projecting from Common is really about the contrast. He's on record praising Jennifer Hudson as marriage material, while Tiffany called their own time together fun but temporary with a 2-year cycle pattern attached. No one needed to throw insults. The comparison shaded itself. And Tiffany, she's doubling down on her thesis. She swears men chase harder when she pulls back. She insists famous men pursue her, not the other way around. She frames herself as the prize, not the beggar. That's her narrative, and she's standing tall on it. But here's what makes it juicy. If Common so much as breathes Tiffany's name again, even in passing, the whole internet cycle reignites. And if Tiffany keeps pushing that 2-year cycle theory, it might be her sharpest way of exposing his pattern without ever calling him out directly. Meanwhile, Breezy's tour is its own viral factory. Kayla Nicole's sultry lap dance already proved that one steamy performance can hijack the entire timeline. If Chris Brown serves up even one more wild stunt on stage, Tiffany's clip will keep getting dragged right back into the mix no matter what she does. So let's flip it to you. Was Tiffany just vibing like a loyal fan who's been rocking with Breezy for 20 years? Or was she trying to grab a little extra spotlight during his wildest viral weekend yet? And what about Common? Do you think his marriage-ready talk about Jennifer Hudson was low-key shade toward Tiffany, or are people just reaching with that one? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, hit subscribe, share this breakdown with your crew, and I'll catch you on the next one.